Ever really thought about it? How can a simple piece of paper, like a check, be just as good as a wallet full of cash? I mean, how does a written promise turn into something you can actually deposit or spend? Something entire economies are built on? Well, we're going to dive into this really ingenious financial invention.
It all boils down to this one question. Think about it. If I scribble I owe you $100 on a napkin and hand it to you, that's just a personal promise, right? It's between us. But a check for $100? Whoa, that's a whole different ballgame. That's a real instrument of commerce. So what's the secret sauce here? What's the magic ingredient? Let's get into it.
Okay, so to really get the solution, we've got to understand the problem it was designed to fix. And for that, we're going to have to jump in the time machine a little bit. Back to a world where business was stuck, limited by one massive challenge: trust.
Just picture this. You're a merchant in one city, and you're trying to buy goods from someone in another, hundreds of miles away. How do you pay them? I mean, you can't just send a cart full of gold, can you? That's super slow, it's expensive, and unbelievably risky. You could send a piece of paper promising to pay, but why on earth would a total stranger trust your little note? That was the problem. That was the friction that put the brakes on trade for centuries. So to get around this, a truly brilliant system was created. And the genius of it wasn't about making more gold. Nope, it was about creating trust in the promise itself. And this is what led to the birth of the paper that pays. And here it is, the hero of our story, the negotiable instrument. Now, the two magic phrases here are creates a right and freely transferable. See, this isn't just a memo about a debt. It's a physical document that is the right to the money. And this is the absolute game changer. It can be passed along from one person to the next. And this really shows you the superpower we're talking about. An IOU? That's stuck. It's locked between two people. But a negotiable instrument? Wow. That can be passed to a third person, and then a fourth, and on it goes, carrying its value with it. It's that transferability, that negotiability, that lets it flow through the economy just like cash. It builds trust, not in a person you don't know, but in the system itself. Now, this super powerful concept doesn't just show up in one flavor. The law actually recognizes three main types, and each one has a slightly different job to do. So, let's meet the key players. First up, we've got the most straightforward one of the bunch, the promissory note. This is a simple two-party deal. It's just one person making a direct written promise to another person. It basically says, I promise to pay you this specific amount of money. That's it. Simple. Direct. Okay, next up is the bill of exchange. And this is where things get a little more interesting because it brings a third person into the mix. So instead of I will pay you, a bill of exchange says, I am ordering someone else to pay you. It's not a promise, it's a command. One person is directing another person to pay a third person. And that brings us to the one we all know, the check. A check is really just a special, super common type of bill of exchange. The only real difference? The order to pay, that command we just talked about, is always aimed at one specific place, a bank. The bank where the person writing the check actually has an account with money in it.
All right, so we know what these things are now. But how do they actually move? How does that promise literally travel from one person's hands to another? Let's follow one of these paper promises on its journey and see how it works.
So, the official term for transferring one of these instruments is negotiation. But, and this is important, we're not talking about negotiation like haggling over the price of a car. In this legal world, negotiation just means the act of passing the rights of that instrument to a new owner. It's what turns that piece of paper into something you can actually use, a liquid asset.
And the process itself? It's actually incredibly simple. For an instrument that's made out to a specific person, it just takes 2 steps: endorsement and delivery. So the person who currently holds it just endorses it, they sign their name on the back, and then they deliver it, meaning they physically hand it over. That's it. With that little signature and a simple handoff, the right to that money has officially changed hands.
So what you end up with is this chain of signatures and deliveries, right? It creates a whole history of ownership right there on the document. But to make this entire system something people could actually trust, the law had to give special protection to the final person in that chain. And this brings us to, you could say, our ultimate hero.
And this is the idea, the single concept that makes the whole thing work. It's called the holder in due course. Now, this isn't just anybody who happens to have the check in their pocket. Oh no, it's a special legal status. It's given to someone who gets a hold of the instrument under very specific, very clean circumstances.
So how do you get this special title? Well, you have to check a few boxes. First, you have to have given something of value for it. It can't just be a gift. You also have to have taken it in good faith, meaning you honestly believed it was legit. It can't be expired or overdue. That's a big one. And maybe most importantly, you had absolutely no clue that there was anything shady about how the person before you got it. This right here, this quote gets to the very heart of the holder in due course's superpower. Being a holder in due course, it's like it washes the instrument clean. Any personal problems that happened way back in the chain, like let's say the very first person paid with that check for some goods that turned out to be broken, well, that can't be used as an excuse to not pay the innocent holder in due course. Their claim is protected. And that is why this whole thing matters so much. It's this legal shield that creates confidence across the entire system. It means a shopkeeper can take a check from a customer without having to play detective and investigate its whole life story. They can be confident that, as long as they're a holder in due course, their right to get that money is rock solid. It's what turns a simple piece of paper from just a personal promise into a reliable, powerful gear in the giant engine of commerce. Which kind of leaves us with one last big question, doesn't it? We've been talking all about paper and ink and physically handing things over. But today, well, we live in a world of digital wallets and instant transfers. So the real question is, have these old rules, these principles of negotiability, endorsement, and the holder in due course, have they just gone online? Are they still alive and kicking, but just hidden deep inside the code that runs our modern financial system? Definitely something to chew on.